Craig, we'll start off. This is from Jeremiah Dickey, Boise State AD, a friend of the show, used to be here at Baylor. After the seating was changed to the straight seating, he tweeted this: "At college football playoff, please call it the Boise State policy. Legacy is important, would make us feel better. When the system is created to keep you down, you fought like hell to break it. Nothing to lose. Always what's next. Believe in Epic. 1-0. Hashtag bleed blue." I talked to Jeremiah a little bit last night, just back and forth, and I certainly get the feeling that now after this one, especially coming up, and we'll talk about some of the other college commissioners in a second, that the time for just seeing what happens and not like really speaking out and speaking your mind is over for a lot of these guys, Craig.
Well, that's interesting because I don't know. I don't know how to take that. The time for speaking up's now when your voice doesn't matter.
Yeah, but I mean, like, well, yes, they waited, but like, I guess
you waited until all the power was in the hands of the other two officially, and now you're going to bark really loud. Whereas when it wasn't, and you still had to say, you were all quiet. And that's this whole game that's being played, right? Like, do we appease them and then they're nice to us after the fact, or do we fight back and then they're really mean to us after the fact? And that's this abusive relationship. Almost, it feels like that other conferences, not named the SEC and Big Ten, are in, of, yeah, you want to fight back, but then you go, oh, but man, 2 auto bids sounds kind of nice. And if we don't do it, then maybe we have 1 or 0. Mm-hmm. And then, oh, if we don't fight back, maybe they'll just be really nice to us. No, they want 4 auto bids. And the moment we say maybe we would like 3, that gets shot down entirely. Or even better, as we've come to find out, maybe we start to put together a commission that wants to actually even the playing field a little bit, and that'll really freak them out. As we've learned, according to multiple reports, SEC and Big Ten, not big Cody Campbell fans, not fans of the presidential commission, because God forbid that actually spread the wealth a little bit. So I'm going to be interested next time we have Tim Brando on and he tells me how Greg Sankey's all for the best of college football. But I know we're going to hear from some commissioners that think they're doing what's best for college football, which is really interesting. So, yeah, I mean, I just think on the fighting thing, it's been back and forth on what people should have done and when they should have done it. And I guess the time's now to fight, but I feel like the time to fight's been like all along. And now, I mean, basically everybody who's not in those 2 leagues has less say than ever, especially starting next year. So I understand the kind of victim position that Boise State's taking, because in so many ways this reseeding was about them, but it was also about Arizona State. Yeah. Being, a team that got a bye, even though they would have been near the bottom of the rankings.
Maybe an 11th seed.
Yeah, I mean, they'd been almost the dead last team in the rankings, and they got a first-round bye. So it's not just Boise State, but they were in some ways, I guess, because they were the smallest of the schools, the poster child for why the seeding was bad in year number 1. So if that's the stance they want to take, then I get that. And they're the underdog. They're going to continue to be the underdog. So I appreciate them being scrappy and being up for a fight. But, yeah, the time to fight's been all along. I don't think it starts now, because I think you have less weaponry than you ever had before. So I'm not sure about that, but I definitely get Jeremiah and Boise feeling like they were targeted, I guess, with the recent change in the playoff. And certainly they are a smaller school that's going to feel like most of these decisions are made against them. So they're going to be a bit defensive, and I can understand that.
Yeah, I'm going to do these next 2 together just because they're almost the same statement from 2 different guys back to back who are in the same spot. This is from Jim Phillips.
Escape into fitness with the Schwinn IC4 bike, providing a premium, heart-pumping indoor cycling experience that combines digital connectivity with superior Schwinn quality. The IC4's smooth, quiet ride features magnetic resistance with 100 micro-adjustable resistance levels. Escape the everyday with the Schwinn IC4 bike, your ticket to a life well lived.
We all have a responsibility to serve our constituents while also being mindful as to what's best for college football. Today's decision was done in the best interest of the sport. It may not always benefit the ACC, but it was the right decision, and that's a responsibility I take very seriously. Then, Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yarmark to CBS Sports. Today's decision might not be the best thing for the Big 12, but it was the best thing for college football. I hope what's best for college football continues to be the priority in any discussions moving forward. Now, Craig, the way I felt about this, I kept, and you kind of called me on it and talking about how the messaging from the Big 12 and ACC needed to be maybe like a little bit more bravado of like, hey, what are you guys afraid of if you're so good about these automatic qualifiers? I actually think that this is better of saying we are sacrificing something for our conference because we think it's better, and that's where they need to do it, so that they paint them into a corner of like, well, we don't care what's better for college football. Just have them say it. What's best for college football, it's not necessarily what's best for the SEC and Big Ten. We don't care, so there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I think just yelling and screaming about it's just going to make you look like crybabies probably in the long run. And that's the portrayal that you're going to get from the majority of the media who are on that other side that you're, supposedly arguing or competing against. And so, I don't know what all good that would have done them to go hellfire, brimstone, and demand anything, or be the big loud one in the room. It wasn't going to change anything. It's not going to make Greg Sankey or not Jim Phillips, but Tony Petitti go, you know what? Yeah, you guys made a good point there. We're going to give you everything because you cried about it. And not that it would be crying, it's fighting, but you know how that can be portrayed. And so I'm glad to see that they had a quick response. I'm very interested in that. It was almost word for word, sounded the exact same as though they had talked about it right before they both said it. The part about best interest of the sport was something they both said, and I'm curious to flesh that out more and why they think it was best for the sport. I guess it's best because it just moves everything forward, and I think things like reseeding could be better for the sport. But that's just interesting that they both said it that way. So I wonder from their vantage point, and if we talk to Brett Yormark in a couple months in Frisco, then I want to ask him about that quote in particular, because why is this better for the sport from their standpoint? It is what it is. They're moving forward, and they're going to continue to do what's best for their leagues. And they felt like, I guess, going along, because I did see a lot of people of like, well, if this is so bad for the Big 12, then why did Yormark agree to it? And if this is so bad for the ACC, why did Jim Phillips agree to it? So they'll need to answer more about that. But that was interesting to see kind of two very similar responses right after everything wrapped up yesterday.
The what's best for college football needs to be the line that not only the Big 12 and ACC, who are going to be at the front of this, obviously say until they figure out the 16-team playoff. It needs to be what everybody says. Like, what's best for all of college football?
Right.
All of college football. Just keep saying it that way over and over and over again. So why is straight seed? Like, I can guess at their answer because I guess I would maybe feel this way. Why is straight seeding best for college football, but not necessarily best for the ACC and Big 12? Well, if it's best for college football to get the best matchups, right? That's what we want. Okay, so the ACC and Big 12 will back off on their argument of it, or their backing of it, because you know what? It does make sense that could be the way that it is. And also, we're also not going to say that we're never going to be a top 4 seed. That would be a horrible, like, they understand the challenges ahead of them when it comes to that, but saying that you're never going to get one of those top 4 seeds would be a capitulation, in this PR wise that they could use against you. And it opens the door for you to be like, look, we sacrifice something. You can sacrifice these AQs that are totally meaningless 99% of the time, or maybe a little less than that. But like, there will be a couple of years where one of them only gets 3 in out of 16. Okay, so boo-hoo, like that's what it is. And in the next segment, we'll kind of go in a little bit more on the presidential commission. We'll have some time to do that here coming up, but maybe go into more a little bit on that. But like, why maybe just the thought of it was more effective than I even thought it would be because of Cody Campbell. But honestly, like, straight up and down, like, the messaging just needs to be what's best for college football, what's best for college football, what's best for college football. And they should never waver from that, because that's the only way that you can say, look, we're not just talking about Big 12 and ACC. We're talking about the Mountain West. We're talking about it like we are united against it. And our two partners here don't really see it that way.
Yeah, I mean, that's it's like I mentioned Brando. He talks about how and he said it multiple times on our show that he thinks Greg Sankey has college football's best interest in mind, and let's hold him to that. And yeah, let's just echo that statement of we're all doing what's best for college football, and then it'll become apparent when there's somebody who's not acting in the best interest of the sport as a whole. I am curious at what point does a Greg Sankey actually not get his way? And I guess it was about a year ago when they tried to warn everybody, right? And they said, hey, well, if you don't agree to this set of rules, then this is what could possibly happen, and they didn't, and this is what happened. And so in some ways it is on Jim Phillips and Brett Yormark and to a lesser extent, I guess, others. But, yeah, I think that's probably a good tack to take. I mean, doing the alternative, like I said, is not going to change anything, and it just probably make you look like a crybaby, which people don't love that. So to just go along with this too, I mean, this isn't like the only thing that's out there that's capable of being changed. So as far as the straight seating goes, I think this is a hill, not a mountain, to try and, climb if you're the Big 12 and the ACC. It makes sense from the greater standpoint. Yeah, it does make sense. It does make the best college football playoff on paper. I believe it does, at least, and most people believe that it would. Even if it does look a bit slanted in a certain direction, that's also where a lot of the biggest programs are now. So that's just the way that it is. But I do think the straight seating's not the end-all be-all. It's just it's not good for the Big 12, I don't think. I don't think it's good not probably having the ability to get in that top four and get a bye. And some will argue, well, the bye's not great anyways because of last year's incredibly one-year large sample size that we're all going off of. This 1 year where it was a certain way is like, that's just the way I guess it was going to be every year. So that's weird. I don't think that's how we do most experiments in this country, but okay. So, yeah, the straight seating was the big complaint last year. I think everybody, if they're not trying to go the tribalism route, could say, how would we improve the playoff? Well, that first round was a bit of a dud. We didn't have the best teams necessarily at the top. So I think we can all agree, if you're not trying to go team this or team that, then yeah, that's probably the best thing for the playoffs. So yeah, that's from that standpoint, it's the best thing for college football. That's what they did. That's what they need to continue to do. And so long as they do it and keep it public, like you said, then yeah, hold the others' feet to the fire that they're doing the same thing and let it be known when they're not.
Yeah, no, I think that that's got to be the messaging. And that maybe that took them this long to figure it out, but because dude,
when you're sitting there saying we're going to continue, it's like, what are you going to fight with though? You have no power. Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do?
The only thing you can do is public relations and make them look bad and make the fans go, we don't want this.
Well, that's what I said last week is there's only two things you can do. It's to get the fans riled up or get the politicians riled up. And there's a little bit of both going on. So we haven't seen that fan backlash hit a crescendo where it's really affected anything, but continue to tweak and screw with things and do that over and over again where you're getting your way on every single thing. Then eventually it's going to become just blatantly obvious to everybody. And there's not going to be an argument against the fact that you're doing that. But with the politicians thing, that's something that obviously rattled the cages a little bit because, based on the reporting out there, SEC and Big Ten not loving Cody Campbell's ideas because it would even the playing field. So, again, there's a guy who's close to the president. That concerns them reportedly. And so that's something to bear in mind. And a nice little – I don't know if it's an ace in the hole just yet, but maybe down the line it is, nice little card that the Big 12 or ACC or Mountain West or whoever is able to play, a guy in their corner who's actually got some legitimate power and a little bit of an ability to push back. So we're not at that point yet, but it was interesting kind of reading some of that surrounding Campbell and this commission. And so it's not as though they're entirely bulletproof, clearly. But, I mean, this straight seating thing, I think that was just better for the game. I can understand that. But what's the next issue, and how do we justify if that's best for the game or not?